Okay, I think if I press all the buttons correctly, I think we're live, gang. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome one and all to yet another episode of Whick TV. And today is everyone's favorite day. Okay, well, at least it's my favorite day. It's call-in day. Okay, where you, yes, you, dear viewer, can call in and talk to me and my co-host for the week. And this week we have a lovely co-host, a wonderful co-host, community member, Small Peanut. Hello, Small Peanut. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing great. We're getting a small echo when I'm very loud, though, so I don't know.
Right. Let me.
Yeah, if you want to adjust that. But we'll get to it. We'll get to it, I'm sure. While
Is that better?
we'll find out.
Okay.
As we gonna get ready, I know we're live a little early. Usually we go on at 6, but I'm sitting backstage. I have everything ready. I'm like, why not go live a little early? Give you guys a chance to call in, come backstage. How do you do that? How do you call in? Well, let me tell you, it's real easy. If you're watching this on Twitch, you hit !Discord, and then you click on that link, and you accept the rules, and you jump backstage, and when we're ready for you, we'll pull you in. If you're on YouTube or you're on Kick, stand by. I'll provide you a link. Again, you click on that link, you accept the rules, you jump backstage, and we'll pull you in, and it'll be fun. I wanted, again, it's any topic you want to talk about, but right now, as we speak, one of the primaries in the Republican side is being done. And I believe it's New Hampshire. Correct me if I'm wrong, Small Peanut, but I think it's New Hampshire. Early, yeah, early reports are, right, that Nikki Haley is outperforming expectations. Whether this will hold up, I don't know. It's far too early to say. But what do we think of that? If Nikki Haley wins or even breaks pretty much even with Trump, does this say anything about the race? Is this something that we can is there hope for the Never Trumpers? What do you think, Small Peanut? While I give people the links, what are your thoughts here?
Means that people want to see somebody else. I think people are sick and tired of seeing Trump. I mean, some people at least. Some people do want Trump still, but I think that means that there's a push for somebody else, and it could be good. Now, I'm gonna keep it honest with you. When I see the nominations, I definitely see Trump getting that nomination still, just because of the popularity he has. Even though he's like, I don't know if it's been 100% confirmed that he's not going to be on the ballots in Maine and Colorado, but that doesn't really stop him because they can still write him in.
True. I mean, even though, at least in the Colorado case, I'm not sure about the Maine case, but in the Colorado case, even write-ins for Trump would be not counted.
Oh, really? I didn't hear about that.
Yes. Again, what I find it doubtful that ruling will hold. I'm just gonna be real with you. I don't think SCOTUS upholds that ruling. I think that they overturn it. I think that they allow Trump to be on the ballot. And honestly, I think, ideally, Trump should be on the ballot and we should beat him electorally. Like, we should, again, that would be the ideal scenario, that we have another match-off between Biden and Trump, and then Biden wins soundly. That's my hope for it. But, again, looking at the primary tonight, at the very least, Nikki Haley, again, early reports, I want to stress this, Nikki Haley is doing better than expected. So whereas I think that you were correct that Trump will get the nomination eventually, I do think that the fact that he is struggling to get the expected results is indicative. Yeah, it's indicative of the fact that he's going to struggle in the general election. Like, there's a lot of talk about Biden and how low his approval rating is, and that's all true, but there are a lot of people who simply won't, under any circumstances, vote for Trump, right? They will hold their nose and pull that level for Biden if it comes down to it. Again, we don't know. We don't know what the future holds here, right? It's very early to do any prognosticating, but we can read the tea leaves a little bit when it comes to the nomination tonight, and I do wonder if Nikki Haley performs well, does
What does
that
that
mean she
mean?
has a chance at the VP nomination for Trump? Does Trump pick her for VP if she gets close enough? What do we think?
I don't think he would. I don't think he would.
Why not?
I think, well, just Trump. I don't think he wants to have a woman campaign to stop. Okay. I'm going to speak on this, what I think. I don't know. But I don't think he would want somebody like Haley on his side because
Okay.
I think that they differ too much.
Oh, maybe.
I can't get into the nitty gritty though, because I'm not gonna lie, I don't know a lot about this right now.
Well, we do have a caller, so let's bring in the caller and see what they have to say about things. And yeah, we'll see what goes on. Again, who knows? Like at the end of the night, it could be a clear Trump win. All this, the early counts could just be noise. And yeah, we'll have to see. But let's bring in Principles Before Politics. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, you're deafened. You're gonna have to undeafen. And once you undeafen, well, you can't even hear us. Here, let me DM this person.
Oh, they're back. They're here. They're here.
Oh, can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry. My PC's a little jacked up at the moment. Like everything is asking me for two-factor and logins, and everything's a mess. Apologies. Probably no camera tonight.
No, it's okay. It's okay. What you got for us? What's on your mind?
I guess the big thing that is bugging me, because you're the one who said I should jump on and talk about the election.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that's really bugging me lately is the retarded leftists. And I apologize for coming in hot, but the ones who are saying like, Gazan genocide Joe, blah 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 blah, and everything that they're doing is driving me insane for a very simple reason. Now, Whick, you and I didn't get a chance to talk about voting strategy previously, but one thing that I know you've seen me comment on before is that the most elections are decided by the middle, right? And I am in that middle, right? This is one of the things that I sometimes find frustrating about working with liberals is not that I disagree with liberals on lots of stuff, but that there's this sort of automatic assumption that I am going to agree with you that your candidate is closer to my stances than the Republican. Now, given that the last 3 presidential elections have been Donald Trump, that's a little bit different. But certainly, like when I've been making decisions for Senate, that has come into play. I have voted for Democrats. I have voted for Republicans. It's an election by election decision. And the folks who are throwing out all of this garbage from the left are basically trying to tell us like one of 2 or 3 things. So number one, they could be telling us that they are essentially non-voters who like to bitch. Which, that's fine, but just say that you're a non-voter. Like, don't pretend that you would vote if something was different. You don't vote. Or they could be telling us that they're single-issue voters, which is fine. If you're a pacifist, if your stance is there should never be war, we should always try to find a peaceful solution to things, I get that. That's fine, right? There were conscientious objectors during World War II, and there was an active genocide going on. I get it. That's not what these people are doing.
So, a couple thoughts. As for the non-voter issue, one of the things that I see all the time, at least on social media, is that there will be people who will be denigrating Joe Biden. You shouldn't vote for Joe Biden, genocide Joe, et cetera, as you said. And then you look into it and you find out they're like Canadian or they're from Europe. And fair enough if that's what you think, but you don't get a say in not tonight's election, but this year's election, right? You were simply trying to.
There's an election tonight in New Hampshire, sir.
Sure. You know what I mean? The overall,
overall
election, the 2024 general. Okay, and so you can not like Joe all you want, but at the end of the day, I say this all the time, and I mean it. If you don't vote, you don't matter. We should not listen to you if you're not going to vote. Why would we? Right?
I disagree with that on a fundamental level.
Why?
So remember, I'm coming at it from the center. There have been election cycles in my lifetime where the 2 decisions that were being offered up both came with very, very, very strong stances on some particular issue that is not necessarily a deal breaker for me,
Mhm.
but it does literally get to a point, if you are a centrist, right? Not if you're one of these retards who just likes to complain and say that there's something you could do to earn their vote. There are people I vote for, but there have been elections where I have simply left the ballot blank and said, well, I'll vote for this and this and this, but I just don't care between these two people. Or like, this is an uncontested election. I'm not voting for this person.
But see, in this case, you do vote. You just don't vote all the time. Does that make sense? So you aren't,
sure,
when I
but
say
that- but
things like, if you don't vote, you don't matter, I'm talking about the people who just don't vote.
Yeah, the people who complain on Twitter about everything, and then they're not the people that go to the voting polls.
Sure, but I think that's the impression that's given off, and when people try to explain why they would leave their ballot blank, I think that there's this awful conflation between a legitimate statement of I don't see a difference, not that I don't see any difference at all, but that like the issues I care about are not represented in this election. Both candidates come with heavy baggage. I'm not making a call between the two because I just don't care. They both suck. And somebody who's saying, I'm not voting because you're insufficiently left. Like I'm digging my heels in on something that's completely unreasonable.
I think that the other issue I have, right, is the people who claim to care for the lives of Gazans, right? Which, I care about the lives of Gazans, and there are plenty of people who disagree with me who care about the lives of Gazans, right? But if you are expecting Trump to get elected and then Gazans, the plight of the Gazans to improve, you haven't been paying attention at all, right?
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, under no circumstances, right, would things get better. And in fact, there's a lot of evidence that things would get remarkably worse. Look at what Trump did with Israel and Palestine during his tenure as president. He cut off $200 million in aid to Gaza, right? Like, he removed the embassy to Jerusalem, right? Upsetting a whole ton of people. It caused Hamas to threaten to declare another intifada. It was really bad, right? So again, like, and Trump recently has stated that he would consider deporting people who protest, like university students, etc., who protested against Israel, right? And so again, every metric you look at, Trump is actively worse. He would make that issue that you claimed, that one issue that you claim to be for, actively worse. And you are threatening to what? Like, again, I don't as someone who does advocate for voting and who does try to persuade the electorate, at a certain point you can't negotiate with terrorists, like emotional terrorists or people trying to hold their vote hostage, right?
No, absolutely not. There's no reason to play that game.
Right? Yeah. And that's what it is to them. It's a game. It's a game. This is a game for clicks and views on social media to them. They will pretend to care about the lives of Gazans, but at the end of again, it's posturing. And it's not just their side that does that. There's a lot of postures. There's a lot of people who are whose care is very fake. But yeah, you can't use the deaths that are happening to try to leverage me to give in to your crazy lefty bullshit. That's all I'm gonna say, right?
I mean, I saw. I very commonly find myself reaching for the worst thing you can do for your own cause is to overstate it. That when people see that the emperor has no clothes, they stop listening to you entirely, even if you actually have a point.
Yes.
I saw some idiot on Twitter today saying, what was it? It was something along the lines of like, if you expect us leftists to vote for Biden, you could at least give us the scraps like Palestine policy. And it was like, I'm sorry, did you just say that Middle East policy is a scrap to you? Like, if the left-wing coalition gave you everything you want on that issue, that wouldn't even be considered a big win to you.
Well, this is framing.
This is how they play.
It's part of, yeah. Do you want to go for a little bit?
I'm sorry. Yeah, not you, but this idiot that I saw.
Sure. Do you want to go for a little bit? Small Peanut, give your opinion. I have more thoughts on this one.
I don't really know much about this kind of stuff, but I will say the left and the right, they like to play these little games on Twitter. It's like, who can I pull the strings at to get on my side the most? it's a game to them. So.
And to kind of piggyback on that just a little bit, right? To also talk about framing. The reason that they call it scraps and call it the bare minimum is because they want it to kind of make it out to be like the no-brainer choice, right? Like this will come with no cost. This will be all to our benefit. There's no reason not to do it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's the scraps. It's the bare minimum you could even do. It's a way to frame the issue, but it misses the whole host of complexities in even withholding aid from Israel, like entirely, right? That's not a simple slam dunk answer, right? That's not a simple slam dunk proposition. There's going to be consequences for that, right?
It would be hopelessly counterproductive. If the United States tomorrow decided to withhold all aid from Israel, do you know what the result would be? Netanyahu would become hardened against the U.S. and wouldn't listen to Biden at all. You would get nowhere by doing that because the entire foreign aid to Israel is, I think I checked this number the other day, it's like 0.5% of their budget. Like their national, the Knesset budget,
it's
right?
a leash.
It's pathetic. It's we're talking
like
about taking pennies
them,
away
right?
from them.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely here. Like what happens if because we know, right? We know that Biden has already talked Netanyahu back from some of his worst excesses so far. Like he got Biden, it was through to the political pressure that Biden put on that got the water and the electricity and stuff turned back on, right? Remember, I don't know if you remember closer to the beginning of the war. He got them to delay a little bit their ground invasion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And these are just stuff off the top of my head. I'm sure if we looked into it, we could find more things that he's doing. The United States was instrumental in trying to push the 2-month ceasefire that Hamas rejected today, right? So there's the idea.
I don't know. I'm a little more cynical than you are. I'm still giving Biden his credit, but I guess part of the angle that I take on this is like there is a little bit of this like American exceptionalism that slips in from the left, and it's weird because the left loves to hammer the right over being like ultra nationalist and shit. But then anytime something happens like this, they'll say, "Oh well, Biden did this." Well, no, not really. Netanyahu did it, and he was willing to either.
Yeah, my point is.
But there's the possible angle that Netanyahu is basically. None of us was in the room for these negotiations, right? There's always the possibility that he basically says like, I didn't want to do this anyway. I need a way to like talk myself off of the fucking dipshit end of the dock that I walked myself onto, and I need something that lets me save face. So Biden, you can take credit for this, but this was always my plan anyway. It just kind of like things got out of hand.
Yeah, but that would be wild speculation. We have no evidence.
Well, any of this is speculation. That's all I'm getting at.
True,
like,
but there's some speculation based on data that we have, and others are just guesses. And the data that we have shows that Biden is at least acting as a kind of tension to hold Netanyahu back, and thus dropping aid and dropping that influence. Every indicator we have today shows that Netanyahu would not back down from his attack, but instead would go even further and harder than he currently is doing. It would just be like, you look at what's happening today. It's what frustrates me, I guess, is the people who say, "Oh, this is the worst possible thing that could possibly be happening." No, it ain't. If you don't think this could get worse, you haven't been paying attention. I don't know.
Well, and again, I think that part of where I come at this is I have a very sober perspective on what presidents actually do. Right.
Yeah.
That's you saw me commenting on the likelihood of a presidential death. I'll get into some statistics in a second if you let me get that far. But when we talk about this Israel stuff and foreign policy, the real question is not would you rather have Biden or Trump? The question is, would you rather have Tony Blinken or Mike Pompeo? Right. That's the real question, because Blinken's the guy who's on the ground in Israel, visiting them repeatedly. Certainly we can be sure he's having, like phone calls and Zoom calls and stuff like that. He's the one who's doing the actual work. Right. He's the one who's commanding the diplomatic channels. And I don't know. I don't think I would necessarily want a former CIA guy to be running the show right now.
No, regime change in Israel might not be a bad thing. But I'm joking. But I get what you're saying. But this is representative democracy and appointees and things like that. And you're right that the choice is from these different presidents' foreign policy teams. But a vote for Biden is a vote for their team. So, yeah.
Right.
No
right. That's
substantive.
That's fair.
To me.
That's fair.
Yeah, I just like I said, I'm with you in the frustration. I'm with you in the fact that there are a lot of people out there playing chicken with lives right now. And I just think that, again, by every metric we have, if we lose in 2024, if Biden loses in 2024, okay, I think that the Democrats are going to just drop the left entirely, right? They're going to be like, oh, these people didn't have our backs at all. They will tack right. They will see that no amount of coddling, no amount of giving in, no amount of working with these people worked. Because they can't be reasoned with, and they will tack right. They will try to go more center, more moderate than they have been. I think that would be.
I'm not going to complain about that, but I definitely think you're right.
Policy-wise, right? Because I like some of the more lefter policy positions, so I don't want that to happen. I want them to win, and not to mention, I think the destruction that Trump would wreak in a very real way on the nation, just systemically, right? Just our institutions, it would be gutted.
Don't get me started on Trump. I'm fingers crossed he's just dead. That's my attitude at this point.
Death, so.
Well, no, I don't wish for his death, but I guess what I mean is, in terms of the electoral implications of his election, I would prefer that that his time comes.
I understand.
When it is appropriate for it to come of natural causes.
I understand. Well, speaking of natural causes, we are facing a very old selection this year, right? We have two of the oldest candidates in history. However, I don't know. Look, if they can still do the job, I don't know if age matters that much. You seem to disagree, though.
Well, so to be clear, this isn't two of the oldest; it is the two oldest. Period.
Yes.
The oldest president before this was Reagan, and both of them will be older than Reagan. So we're not even talking the oldest in the race. We're talking the oldest. Period. And I'm not talking about this with respect to their individual capacity to do the job while they're alive. What I'm talking about is I looked up the actuarial tables on this the other day, and I did some back of the envelope math. I don't have the numbers in front of me anymore, but it's kind of startling that in terms of the likelihood that one of them dies between now and the election, it is 1 in 5.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. One of them dies?
Let me rephrase that. At least one. That's the correct statistical interpretation. That it could be one, it could be the other, or it could be both. They're slightly different ages, and I did take all of that into account when I cranked the numbers. But the long story short is, it's about 1 in 5 that at least one of them is dead by election day. That's terrifying.
I'm gonna say this, right? It is terrifying, and I think it's even more terrifying. Like, I think Trump passing away before we can beat him at the ballot box is the worst possible outcome.
Why would that be worse?
He becomes this martyr that was always going to win, and it's not a falsifiable thing anymore, right? It's something that, like, his supporters will take to their graves as well, that he was going to win the 2020.
Okay, that's fair, but I mean, realistically, I don't think he has a shot. If the center decides most elections...
No, I agree with you. That's why
the center already knows who Trump is, and he lost last time.
Yeah, I agree
something
with
catastrophic would have to happen for Biden.
Politico just released an article, in fact, that I was reading before we came live. And I'll read the headline to you right now. It's Donald Trump has a big problem ahead. A whole swath of GOP voters appears firmly committed to not voting for Trump in November, and it talks about how moderate Republicans specifically are just dead set in not voting for Trump. So I agree with you that he doesn't have a shot, but that's why, right? That's why I don't want him to die before the election day, so that we can know for sure, right? And think of the conspiracies, man. Think of how
Okay. I'm not Twitter.
They killed him. They killed him before he could claim his victory.
Absolutely, like that would be Small Peanut hit nail on the head. Okay, that would be the Biden.
The FBI did it, right?
That would be what would be assassinated Trump. That would be the story forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the other scary number though, Whick, is that regardless which one of them wins, you've got about a 50% chance that they die in office. So you're
sure.
But we thought about that last time.
Did we though?
I mean, this time we did with Biden. We definitely thought with Biden, as you could see his condition, even when he would deliver speeches, etc., slurring words, falling down. I mean, the man's old.
Part of what I'm getting at, though, is that you need to think about the vice president that's coming along with them,
right? That's
the person who takes over when your guy dies. And if we're literally talking that from an actuarial standpoint, I mean, obviously these people have access to great health care.
Yes.
And again, we're not wishing any specific harm on anyone. Just that if you take all else equal, there's about a coin flip chance that that whoever you elect is not finishing their term, and their vice president will finish their term. So that's another one, because gads.
I don't know who Trump's going to pick, right? I don't know. Like I said, I hope that both of them make it to election day, and I hope that we can trounce Trump at the ballot box and put this maybe not to bed completely, right?
Yeah.
Deal it another blow. One more question before we let you go, because I know we have more people in the chat. And gang, if you want to call in, today is call-in day, so get your ass in my Discord and jump backstage and get in line. But my other question to you is on the Houthi strikes, right? What do you think of that? Is it like Biden recently? I think the quote was, I don't have it in front of me, but the quote, and I'm paraphrasing here, was, when you say working, is it going to stop the Houthis? No. Are they going to continue? Yes. What do you think of that? What are your thoughts here?
I think Biden sometimes is, what's the way I want to put this? It's almost like glibness, right? I think sometimes he cracks a really pithy joke and just doesn't care how it sounds. Like when that person asks him how many genders there are, and he says at least 3, right? Like that's just like, or like the way that his campaign seized on Dark Brandon. Like I think that they appreciate a sense of humor on the Biden team, and I think that's probably why he phrased that the way he did. Is same concept as at least 3 genders. Is it going to continue? Yes. Does that mean the Houthis are going to stop? No, but we're going to keep bombing them. And I think he's being honest, right? That we're talking about a terror cell. Unless you actually kill every single person involved and destroy all their propaganda so they can't reform later, you're talking about a 10-headed hydra. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You cut off one head, another head grows back. So is it going to stop them? Probably not. It's a terror cell. It's only going to end when they're all dead, or when they give up their own fight because politics evolves and the people that are involved with it no longer feel like risking their lives over this. But in terms of the bombings, fuck yeah, they're threatening international trade. This is the easiest slam dunk in history, and this is one of the few things that America does in terms of being world police that everyone actually appreciates, right? I'm sure, Whick, you're familiar with the talking points from the right about military budgets and how we spend more than all of the EU member states combined and shit like that, right? Do you think that those countries don't appreciate on some level that we have
we're doing the dirty work
carriers?
For them?
Yeah, that we have a strong naval presence, and when bullshit like this happens, we will drop a Tomahawk missile on your head.
Yeah. The counter to that, just to steel man the counter though, is if it doesn't work, why do it? Isn't it just needless death and destruction? It's not going to stop them anyway.
It isn't that it doesn't work. It's that the metrics for success aren't being calibrated effectively.
Can you elaborate on that?
That the goal is not to get them to give up completely. The goal is to destroy their capability to do it right now, or it's to get them to back down temporarily, right? That, again, we're talking about terrorists. And you said this earlier. You can't negotiate with terrorists.
You can't.
If we know they're gonna come back, then the goal is to shut them down for as long as you possibly can. If that's 5 hours, okay, I'll take it. If that's 5 weeks, even better. But I think that's all it boils down to, right? That it's a sober assessment that, yeah, the problem isn't going to go away just because we kill a few people or blow up a couple of missile pods. But if those missile pods aren't there anymore, then they can't keep shooting them.
But there is a risk of escalation as well, is there not? Right? Like that through striking this, it will encourage them to rearm faster and strike harder, or pull from their sponsor countries, for lack of a better term, Iran, to kind of get involved.
It's like a poke the bear situation.
I know where you're going with that, but I'm going to counter that they are the ones who are doing that. That is the response they are getting, is that they poked the bear and it is coming down on them. That if, like, Iran already has had an issue with Pakistan striking at their border. So Iran, if they escalate this, they're asking for a hot war. I don't think Tehran is that stupid to risk it like this.
Oh man, they keep acting as if they are, though, right? Like their actions, at least in the last month in the region, have been escalatory in nature, right? They are bombing the Kurds. They're bombing the near U.S. assets, right?
Sure, but you have to remember that, again, there's these complicated interrelationships between them and all of their various neighbors and all of their neighbors' neighbors. You know, Egypt is not happy about this. You think Egypt is particularly excited about the idea that tariffs through the Suez Canal are down and port fees and shit like that because people are routing around the the Cape of Good Hope to avoid this shit? Do you think Egypt wants Iran to continue doing this? You think Egypt has no influence on Saudi Arabia? Like, these things all fit together in a complicated mosaic, and to just put it as simply as like, oh, well, it's the U.S. versus the Houthis. No, that's not at all how this works. The Houthis are the terrorist network. We are striking the terrorist network that has just lashed out. Yeah, maybe Iran is going to continue to do the shit they do, but Iran pretty clearly is avoiding a hot war. They want to keep doing this through these terror networks because it keeps bombs from dropping on them. The bombs drop on Gaza, they drop on Yemen, they drop anywhere but Tehran.
I have a debate coming up, actually, with Non-Smoker and 𝕬𝖎 the Great on Friday. Destiny's going to be my teammate, and that'll be fun, right? But if you can remember when we prepped for the Wilson debate, right? And you had all those. If you have time and you have some inclination, I'm looking for specifically on the Saudi end of things, right? Like with the Saudi and the Houthi conflict of 2014, 15, 16 area, right? So if you have information on that, that would be very helpful, sir. Up to you, though. I don't want to pressure you or anything, but
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you for calling in. Is there anything else you have for us?
No. There's 1,000 things I could say about this election and about voting in general, but you've got other people in the waiting room, so I'll bow out.
No, and like if you're anywhere near Ohio, remember we're doing a canvassing house in Cincinnati on February. You're more than invited. I know we've talked about getting connects and stuff like that. There'll be politicians there. It'll be great. So
I'm not doxing myself. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Bye.
Later.
Okay, what a gentleman caller. What a nice guy, right? I enjoy kind of the more moderate perspective. Like, people say all the time, oh, Whick, you're a centrist, you're a centrist. I'm not a centrist at all. But I am a moderate, right? I'm a moderate leftist, is what I describe myself as. Even though I don't like labels, I don't like to swallow that kind of ideology. I think that when you look at all my issues and how I would rate them and rank them, and what I would choose if I were king of the world or whatever, and how I vote, it's pretty clear that I'm a moderate leftist. That makes me an enemy to extremists on both sides. That's true.
Well, nobody wants to like extremists. Nobody likes extremists.
You'd be well. Normally, yes, but
Normal
in
people
our
don't.
sections of Twitch and Twitter, right, in
I
the
stay
social
away.
media,
I stay away.
it's reversed, right? Moderates are poo-pooed,
Get to the
and
side.
extremists are elevated. So it is what it is. Let's bring on the next contestant on whatever the show is and see what they have to say.
Hello, Jenny.
Jenny, hi.
Oh, Jenny.
You're live.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. What's up?
Hi, Jenny.
Not too much background noise?
No, you're good today.
Yay! Okay, so I wanted to clarify some things because I got a little bit of DMs last night after last night's call-in. And, excuse me, I figured this was a little easier than copying and pasting the same freaking thing over and over and over.
Fair enough.
Jenny's in hot water.
What's that?
You in hot water?
No, just people like misconstruing some things that I said or misunderstanding some things that I said. And also like incomplete statements that I didn't make. So last night was obviously about like children with we were talking about children with disabilities, blah 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 blah.
The hypothetical for my audience, just in case you
Yes.
didn't see yesterday's show, the hypothetical is if there was a pill that you could mandate that a pregnant woman takes that would make sure that her baby was born without blindness or deafness, would you mandate that? And it was a whole discussion. But anyway, go ahead.
Right. And I said that children should be loved for who they are, and that's like my whole stance. Period. The end. But like it starts earlier than that. Like my stance on kids is 100%. First of all, if at all possible, they should be born on purpose. Like if you can plan, make plans ahead of time. Give them the best like beginning that you possibly can. I want that for every single baby. Is it possible? Probably not. But I'd rather people go into parenthood being informed than going into it blind. Like, not to make a pun, but blind. That said, I think one of the biggest things is that people should not so much like expecting, but being prepared and aware that at any time from birth to wherever something is going to happen. Could happen with your child. They could become disabled. They could become, like we have gay kids and trans kids. And I'm not saying that's a disability. I'm saying that's a difference from the norm. Something could happen with your child, and this is on the parents, not just society, but this is on the parents to be aware, expected of, and prepared to deal with. And in the past, we dealt with disabilities by just shutting kids away. Even so far as there are still people who are cheer people on when they kill their disabled kids, which is horrifying.
It is
to me.
It is.
And it should be horrifying to everyone.
It's terrible.
A
life has value no matter what condition that life
exactly
is in.
Exactly. Every life has value.
Mm-hmm.
And now in today's society, we don't just shut these kids away. That's why when you hear people say, when I was in school in the 50s or the 60s or the 70s, we didn't see kids with autism or ADD or all these disabilities. We didn't have. And it's like there are probably some environmental issues that have happened since then, but also there are more people now. So you're going to see things more. But we have better diagnosis. What was that? I'm sorry.
We have treatments. Like if you have ADHD, your kid can get medicated. It's not just put them in a room, shut them up.
Right. Exactly. We have better diagnostic tools. one thing that I also see in just in schools is people saying, I don't want to label my kid. If getting your kid on a medication that can help them is what you consider labeling them and you consider being a bad thing, I see that as bad parenting. If your kid needs a medication that can help them focus, and all that is a medication that they take. If it can help them focus and help them be a better student and help them be a better overall human being, why wouldn't you want to do that? And I think like there's a lot more people that just aren't medicating their kids because they don't want to label their
stigma.
Right. And those kids are then going through and having problems in school throughout their entire school career. And you hear it all the time, like somebody like in college is going on like a drug bender and they get somebody's like Adderall or Vyvanse or whatever and suddenly discover that they can focus. And like it didn't like give them like the hyper high or whatever that it's giving to all these other people that don't have ADD or ADHD. And they're like, oh wait, I can focus now. What is this? What did I take? And it's like they've gone through their entire high school and into college career struggling, and now they're like, hey, I've discovered that this medication makes me focus. Hey doc, what the hell? What's up? You know? So it's like, I see holding your kids back by not getting them treatment as absolutely abusive. Like a lot of people are like, wouldn't you cure your kid of autism if you could?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say because like I don't know my kid without autism.
I mean,
you know,
I'm struggling though. Like you just went on this speech about how if you don't medicate your kid to make their lives better, it's abusive and it's bad parenting. So what's the difference between that and taking a medication that would make your kid's life
not have it ever again?
Yeah.
Well, see, I look at it this way. You remember during the COVID lockdowns and everything, we had our kids home at school. And I saw why my kids were struggling in school. And it wasn't because of their autism. It was because they were seen as incapable and not given the tools, or not, excuse me, they weren't given a curriculum that they could do and thrive in. So I took them out of school and I got them into homeschool in a homeschool collaboration unit. And my kids went from, my 11-year-old went from a completely solitary special ed unit to skipping a grade, and he's now in high school at 13. Like the only accommodation that he has is he has a parapro that sits with him in class. The parapro doesn't even sit next to him, but sits in the class with him just in case he needs help. And go ahead and ask. I'm sorry.
But you took that as a parent to see that your child was struggling and you found a way to help them.
Right, because nobody else was doing it. They were seeing,
but they see that as
only as autism.
The parent, but the teachers kind of like most of the time they're generalizing the curriculum and everything for a majority of the kids. Not a majority of kids have autism, et cetera, et cetera. So if your kid has autism, et cetera, it's kind of like your duty as a parent to find the education that works for your kid, to make sure they're seeing the best teachers that work for them, etc. Because that curriculum is general based on what most of the kids have, which is not autism, etc. I said etc. Right. So many times.
But also at the same time, and I'm sure that there's other parents that have seen this, we're not prompted to like get involved in their education. We're just seeing, oh look, this is what they're doing now, and like my kids are bringing home like first and second grade like worksheets, and like when they were in like 4th, 5th grade, And I knew, like, my kids were bored with this stuff, but it's like, I'm not in charge of curriculum. All I can say is, can we give them something more challenging? And they would be like, oh yeah, we'll give them this extra puzzle or this extra, one or two things. But we're told that, this is the curriculum that we're given by the state. We don't really veer too far from it, left or right. And we aren't told, we can push for more. And a lot of us, we don't have the time, like, in our day to be the teacher while our kids are in school with the teachers to say, our kids need this extra curriculum.
I agree with all of this.
I did get to see it when I was home with them. The only hurdles that my 13-year-old has in school is he's nonverbal. His accommodation is he's given a little hand computer to type on, so he can, like, text to type or text to speech, so he can communicate just fine. He just doesn't use his mouth. And I think that that's one of the things that we need to kind of be open to is alternate forms of communication. We're all typing to each other all day long. Like, we can have perfectly fine conversations.
There's some evidence that is destroying us on a fundamental level societally. The fact the lack of non-face-to-face and non-verbal interactions is making us worse as a species. I mean,
well, this isn't a face-to-face. Like, he's having these conversations face-to-face. It's just that he's not using his mouth.
But the whole
even
point
if you are.
The whole point here is, again, wouldn't it be nice if he didn't need any accommodations?
It would, but, like,
so
what would happen?
If you could give him a pill,
it would be a little bit cheaper, but, like, also at the same time, what would happen if at 2 years old he had a TBI and still ended up needing something like this? So we can't always prepare, like, by saying, oh, we want to cure all diseases in the womb. Okay, that's great. Well, what happens? What happens when our kid something happens and our kid needs something after they're born?
Then we deal with it as we go.
An injury or something, or an illness.
That, right? Like, again, we cross that bridge when we get to it. But if we can mitigate to a large extent, right, and change it from a certainty to only a possibility, I think that's just a good thing to do.
I'm just going to say, I don't know that possibility. I just know what the reality is, and the reality is,
well, there's no pill in reality.
I would like to see a lot more. We do have some accommodation and acceptance in society.
Yeah.
I would just like to see a lot more.
I am all for accepting more people as they are. As long as they're not assholes. If they're assholes, I'm for a little less accepting of assholes. But for opinions, diversity, and people being who they are, all for it. Right?
Jenny, I love you going to the call-in show with your kids screaming in the background. I love you, Jenny.
Is there anything else you have for us tonight?
Not really. I mean, I could go. Yeah, that's about it. I don't want to talk about the election. I'm holding my nose and voting for Biden, just like any other good Democrat. So,
well, bless you for that, Jenny. Thank you for calling in, and I will see you later.
Oh, Whick, your chat is something else sometimes.
I'm only half looking at it. I'm paying attention to the callers. I will say, gang, there was in the New Hampshire primary, right? They had a Democratic primary too, but Biden's name wasn't on the ballot, right? They didn't have an actual literal primary. So a lot of people encouraged people to write in Joe Biden on the write-in section, and there was a picture of one of the people's ballots who wrote in Joe Biden, but then wrote in like a little asterisk. He added a note to his ballot for whatever reason, talking about but fuck him for not allowing us to do X, Y, or Z. Which, you know what? That's how we win, gang, right? Fuck Joe Biden all you want, but vote for him, okay? You cannot like him. That's okay. Voting isn't a love letter. Voting isn't you giving them a Valentine's, okay? That's not what this is, right? You're just choosing the path that will lead you as close to your goal as you could possibly can. And that's all it is, gang. So, yeah. Like I said, I again, if you have the ability to make someone's life better, right, by removing obstacles, right, taking obstacles away, and blindness and deafness are nothing but obstacles. There is no world where blindness or deafness is better for you, right?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Exactly, and no one would choose to become blind or deaf normally. There are mitigating circumstances, religious nuts, people who have some issues, right? But I think that, again, for the most part, taking away the ability, like, can you imagine being a kid whose mom chose not to take the cure the blindness pill and having
Well,
to
would you
grow
say
your
that's
whole life
eugenics?
blind, and then
Well,
knowing
then
your mom didn't take that blindness pill?
well, it becomes the issue of eugenics, and people don't like eugenics.
Look, Kamikaze, I understand that I'm not talking for the deaf community, but that's okay. They can't hear me. They'll never hear me. Like, that's okay. They can't hear me. But yes,
Artemis Fowl.
I
I'm gonna be
understand that a lot
honest,
of people have done this, like, weird kind of Stockholm syndrome with their illnesses. But that's what it is. It's Stockholm syndrome. But for your illnesses. That's all.
I want to preface before this next caller because I know Artemis is very.
Oh, well,
politics and everything.
what happened to Allison? We were going to pull Allison in.
I
Allison,
don't
come
know.
back!
But I do not know a lot about the election going on tonight, and I personally don't really talk about Israel-Palestine just because of my stake in it.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll bring in Allison, because Allison was first.
There we go. She's
Yes, and
back,
then we'll
my
bring in Artemis.
girlie.
Allison,
girlie
you
Allison.
scared me. Allison, hi. Hello.
Hello. Oh wait, your whole video is going on the back. Is it okay if I'm looking today?
Is it okay? Well, as long as we can hear you, that's best. So.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear you. What's up?
Okay. Well, one thing I wanted to talk about, but then the last call made me kind of want to say something. But they kind of relate, like, or can be tied together ultimately. But I just on the like, not giving your kids psych meds is abusive, or like that's not literally what was said, of course. Okay, so I'm not trying to misrepresent anybody, but like, there was a line at one point that was like, well, if you could just take a pill that like makes them better, makes them feel better, makes everything better, why wouldn't you? And it's like, well, of course, like oftentimes that's not how it actually goes. Like, these are brain pills with side effects, right? Like, I have talked about this on the channel before, but I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, have a history of taking the same meds that they give kids who have been diagnosed with childhood bipolar disorder. And this is actually regarded as like somewhat controversial in psychiatry because Jenny was like, what's wrong with labeling a kid? Like, labeling a kid? Well, like, when you say a kid has bipolar disorder, the stigma attached to bipolar disorder is that you need meds, period, not negotiable. Right. And so, like, giving that to a kid, and these pills do have side effects of like weight gain. When you get older, you're talking about sexual dysfunction. Like, arguably, treating a kid for childhood bipolar disorder, you're like really risking giving them like childhood obesity and depression pills. You know what I mean? Like, that's honestly the risk. So, and I mean, ADHD, I don't know as much about it personally, okay? But I know my mom sees kids that have ADHD at her preschool. She works at a special needs preschool. And the kids have to go on, quote, medication vacations throughout the summer so as to gain weight because they're literally emaciated. They're like literally malnourished because they take an amphetamine every day, obviously.
So-
you know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like these pills, you just take them, everything's perfect, and the day is done, right?
Okay,
like,
so
that's
just
not...
to kind of clarify, just if I may, just real quick, just to clarify. So the hypothetical was a pill without any side effects at all, right? And then talking about like real world pills, obviously my answer changes because there are side effects, right? So I just
If there's a hypothetical magical pill, clearly yes, yeah.
Well,
in
you
my
say
opinion.
clearly yes, but that's the whole point of us discussing this is it was not a clearly yes. I thought it would be a clearly yes, but apparently it was not a clearly yes, and so we had a whole debate about it yesterday, and it's carried over.
Well, I super got in trouble with Katie because I said that mental illnesses can like constitute like defects, basically, but that we should still have a shit ton of yes
Shave her head,
on the kink shaming panel.
Oh, I remember. I was there.
Yes, and I was like, wait, I wasn't trying to be controversial or spicy there. Like, why, like, bipolar disorder, like, you have to go to the psych ward and shit. It's literally a defect. Like, of course, it's not like it's not like a cool thing. Like, it's a bad thing.
When it comes to taking medication as somebody who has been taking medicine for most of their life, it's trial and error. It really is. And you kind of have to be communicative with your doctor on that. As an adult, obviously going alone to the doctors and being able to communicate that clearly with my doctor by myself made it easier. But as a child, my mom would notice these things, I would notice these things where maybe that medicine wasn't working for me. You know, the side effects, etc. So I would get switched to a new one. With the methamphetamines and the Adderalls and all that stuff, yes, it does lower your appetite, but I haven't really heard of medication vacations before. That's something completely new to me. Again, I'm talking anecdotal. I was on Adderall since I was 6 years old. I got switched off of it recently because it wasn't working for me anymore. But it is an appetite suppressor. I'm not going to sit here and lie. But it is about, with medications, trial and error. And I'm a big advocate for people getting on medicine because it has changed my life and a lot of people that I know. And I know that, you know, like I've seen at parts where my dad doesn't take his medicine and he goes on like psychotic episodes almost.
No.
And it's very scary.
I definitely don't want to be construed as like anti-med, right?
Right.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to come off as that, okay? But I do think that like psychiatry is a uniquely fallible field. I don't think it's like quack science or like all junk. Like, they're trying their best. It's well-intentioned, okay? But I do think it's like uniquely
trial
prone
and error.
to...
It's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, I mean, they don't know how the pills work, right? Like, they have randomized placebo-controlled trials to show that people with certain psych labels show certain amounts of improvement sometimes, but they cannot tell you why. They cannot tell you what causes a mental disorder. Like, the DSM is, like, on purpose agnostic with respect to how the mental disorders are caused or how the medications work, and they don't even recommend treatment. It literally just describes the condition itself. They like take no position on what causes it or how best to fix it. And
like you said, you had bipolar. I don't know much about bipolar as I don't have it, but I know it's classified differently. The medicines you take are completely different than what I would take, and so I know people. I think with bipolar, I might be wrong, but it's when they don't like the medicine they take, they just don't want to take it. It's not like they want to go like, I don't know, because I've heard people who have it. It's not really like I want to communicate with my doctor. I don't like this medicine. It's just like I just don't want to take the medicine. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there's bipolar and schizophrenia. There's like massive issues with medication compliance, like massive issues. And I understand how from the outside looking in that can look. I mean, it is crazy, and it can look crazy. But also, like, as a person who takes these pills, like, they really can like fucking empty you of like your whole entire self. Like, you can feel like a zombie. Like, the worst, like, most cliche descriptions of like psych pills making you feel like a bartard, like with atypical antipsychotics, like that really, really can be true. And like, you can try pill after pill after pill, and it just like inevitably like starts to feel fucked up. And then the second you stop taking it, you feel fucking better. Like, you feel an upswing literally within like 12 to 20 hours. Like, it is immediate.
I've heard that the medical compliance, the medicine compliance, like you were saying, is very, but that those issues is like different, because some people with ADHD like me, like I have no issue taking my medicine, so it's like I can't relate to that, you know, at all. So like when I talk about how I'm good with medicine, etc., it's because I'm painting it with a broad brush, right? I can only talk about my experiences. So
yeah,
I've never been on medication, gang, so I'll take your word for it.
Badass.
I'm mentally stable. Mostly.
Very badass. And also, if there's a shit ton of people in line, like, I don't have to get into what I originally wanted to talk about. What did you originally
want? We have some time. What do you originally want to talk about?
Well, I don't even have like a settled. What I originally wanted to talk about. Have you heard of the Weight Watchers controversy that's kind of happening right now?
Again, I've heard about prior Weight Watchers controversy about how they drive people. It's a harmful kind of like a culture around weight loss, etc. What's the current controversy?
Well, okay, so I don't know a shit. I've never done Weight Watchers personally, but from what I understand, their like kind of brand culture throughout existence has been there's no shortcut, count calories, it's a lifestyle, not a diet. Like,
Yeah,
they
culture,
have
like I
this whole
said, right?
point system. Yeah, it's like it's a whole they've got like a jargon thing, like it's a whole thing, right? But then sometime last year, they acquired this company called Sequence, which is a telehealth company that facilitates the like prescription of semaglutide medications to people, which is like Ozempic.
Oh, okay.
So arguably, it's like a pill mill for Ozempic. Like, do you remember those like ADHD, like get your Adderall online after you
Yeah.
fill out some multiple choice questions? Like gender affirming care pill mills have existed as well. Like, arguably, this is an Ozempic pill mill that has been acquired, like a telehealth company that specializes in just giving this for obesity. It was acquired by Weight Watchers last year, and now over New Year's, they have literally invited all these like plus size influencers, like plus size clothing, all people, like all these people who have Instagram followers and shit for being plus size. They've invited to them this like house where they basically just sell Ozempic. And it
Forgive
does
me.
kind of
that
seem
Ozempic's on back order at pharmacies.
Forgive me. I'm not as familiar with Ozempic as I probably
Weight
should be for
loss.
this
It's
conversation. Does it work?
diabetes. It's
I guess
insulin.
my question is, does Ozempic work? Does it cause people to lose weight? What are the side effects?
So I know. So Ozempic is an insulin injectable, right? People that are diabetic take Ozempic just for their insulin. But now doctors and other people are prescribing it for weight loss, and it does work. But I believe the way it works is you inject it for a few months and then you get off of it. I'm not 100% sure of the side effects. I know that there are some people who take it and they go back on it, but you have to kind of keep the diet. It doesn't like you don't just you can gain the weight back. I'm not 100% sure of the side effects though, but I know that right now because I did used to work in a pharmacy as of I quit last year. It's on back order. Like you can't get it anywhere.
Well,
So,
I would imagine so if it works, right?
Yeah,
it works.
I remember.
it works a lot.
I remember when I was a teenager, young Whick. They ascribed to me a dangerous medication, right? Accutane. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Accutane.
Right? But I had some bad acne when I was 14 and maybe 16, whatever, around the teenager years. And I took the Accutane, right? I was on it for 6 months, maybe 3 months, less than a year. Every month I had to go get my blood tested to make sure it wasn't damaging my liver, etc. But you know what, gang? It was like a miracle drug. It worked. I thank goodness every day I could try out Accutane and they let me do that, right? So, I understand the controversy. I understand where you're going with it, that it's like a shortcut, like just take this pill and you'll be better. But honestly, again, I don't know enough about it to make this claim. I won't die on this hill. But if it has some side effects, but it works, sign me up.
Well, now there's a lot of companies. There's one second. I think it's Mounjaro. I think it is. It's just like Ozempic, but this one's only for weight loss. So there are companies now producing the same kind of injectable strictly for weight loss. But the issue with the Ozempic is that people that are diabetic aren't able to get it because people who are taking it for weight loss are like taking all of it.
Oh well, that's a supply issue.
Yeah.
Fair enough, right? But hell yeah, look. Nope, I'm not gonna make. No, I will make this joke. We're gonna risk it for the biscuit, gang. If I could get rid of fat people by giving them a pill to make them no longer fat, I would do it because it'd be healthier for them. I wouldn't make them do it. I wouldn't mandate it, right? To be clear, not like the blindness, deafness thing. But yeah, I would be all for passing out this pills to anyone who doesn't want to be fat anymore. Take them like candy if you want, right? Like, damn. Yeah, let's go. I don't know. What do you think,
That I
Allison?
know is controversial. I know there is a whole group of activists. I had to read, I don't remember what it's called, but there's like I took a feminist philosophy class in undergrad, okay? I'm like basically a women's study major. No, I'm totally kidding. But we did have to read an excerpt of one like feminist paper about fatness, and it was like the person who founded the NAAFA, the National Association for the something of fat acceptance. But anyway, there are people who totally think that like stuff like body size is innate, and that the like medical industrial complex preys on people's insecurities about their bodies by selling them dangerous interventions.
I'm sure it
like
does, but that
like
doesn't
bypass
change the
surgery is
fact.
more controversial even than, I mean, Ozempic's controversial for the supply chain reason. Is like,
yeah.
damn, diabetics really need this
No,
to
I
not
get
like
that.
fucking drop dead, you know?
Mhm.
It's your local
and so
mom
that's
who
an
wants
issue.
to lose 10. It's your local mom who wants to use 10 pounds and it's like, oh yeah, let me try some Ozempic. It's not like you're obese people. Your celebrities are endorsing it. Like it's like
Oprah.
Oprah.
Look, I
yeah.
want to solve the supply chain issue then, right? Like that's a supply chain issue. Let's get rid of those problems. I don't know enough about supply chain issues to solve it, right? But that isn't a stop taking it problem. That's a solve the supply chain so more people could take it problem. I don't know. What do you think, Allison?
I mean, okay, I kind of agree if it was with the care of a doctor, like if because basically from what I understand, what this drug does is it binds to a certain hormone receptor and it mimics the response that your body has, like in response to food. And this also prompts insulin production, which is why it helps diabetics. But and it does work. People will just like drop weight like
You know
crazy.
who I
And
bet is responsible for this goddamn supply chain problem? The Houthis.
Joe Biden.
The Houthis.
I thought you said Joe
The
Biden.
Houthis are making it so it's harder to get rid of our fat people. Man, that's just
This was
another
happening in
reason to
September.
get
This
rid
was
of the
happening in
Houthis.
September,
Okay.
though.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
That's why I said Joe Biden.
like I don't remember what I was gonna say. What was the question?
My bad. I'm sorry. I'm saying that
No, you're good.
So where do you stand on the controversy? Do you think it's okay to have Weight Watchers pushing this pill?
Well, okay, so it seems like it shouldn't be used long term for weight loss. Like it seems like it can actually result in like a type of malnourishment or like the side effects of malnourishment, and it can fuck with your gallbladder. There are certain things that like long term use specifically for weight loss. I don't know how common it is. I'm not saying it should necessarily. And also I don't think they know. I think they kind of just recently discovered that. I don't know how long it's been known that this works really very well, like to reduce obesity in people. But if it was a person who was like under the care of a doctor and like while they were doing Ozempic, they were like lifestyle adjustments were being made to where the weight loss would be like rendered more sustainable after the drug use ceases, assuming that there is some medical need to cease the drug use, right? Like I guess it's maybe possible this is like the equivalent of a magic shot that like doesn't harm you in any way, right?
Well, you're not supposed to continuously take it. You take it for like a certain amount of doses, and then you get off of it.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the drug to make any serious claims or die on any hills. But again, if it's anything like Accutane, where it's done for a specified amount of time and you get tested to make sure it's not making you crazy or whatever or destroying your body, yeah, why not?
How do we feel about people being able to like get themselves Adderall? Because I think like if we support, which I mean, I honestly am like maybe fine with it, but like if we support Ozempic pill mills, I'm like, oh, let people have their Adderall pill mills as well.
I don't know
enough about any pill mills
to kind of comment on this. I just don't. I don't know.
I think they're probably bad. I think pill mills are probably bad, and probably
bad.
doctors need to be the gatekeepers of what people get, what medicine. But then people are like, bro, America has such a doctor shortage. I mean, with psychiatry, like insurance covers maximum a 20-minute visit, like your first time. So that's not enough for them to actually get to know you. Like, do you think these doctors are really, yeah, they went to medical school, but like they're burnt the fuck out, like doing backbreaking shit all the time, like really understaffed. Do you really think that like Which, I mean, I think that's kind of anti-doctor. I'm like, man, they really did go to medical school for like decades. That just seems pretty hard. I do think they're probably more qualified. But I don't know. I don't know if that's like too blindly trusting of authority. There's like this like retard, like libertarian impulse in me that wants to be like, freedom! Give it to me.
There's a
Like,
pill
I've
for
got
that.
that.
There's a pill for that, okay? We can cure you of your retardness, okay? We can make you better. Don't worry. Allison, thank you for calling in.
Thank you for calling out.
Yes.
You've given us a very heavy topic to think about. Okay? It's very
One that I know stuff about.
Oh, yay. Okay, well, y'all have fun.
Allison.
Hi, darling.
What a
I'm a
nice
very
caller.
Yeah.
What a nice caller. We like Allison here. We stand Allison here. But no, I'm not anti-medication by any means, right? If there is a pill out there that helps you lose weight, and again, if there's a shortage, let's take care of the shortage issues, right? Like right now, prioritize those who need life-saving, right? Who are diabetic, by all means. Absolutely. That's true. But then we should be working to expand our supply of this drug if it works. Because guess
So the
what?
companies.
Obesity is also a life-threatening condition.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's why you have companies now making the same shit as the Ozempic does, but it's strictly for weight loss. And so you have companies now making, I think it's called 𝕾𝖎𝖎. I might be incorrect, but it's the same kind of thing, and it's just for weight loss. So people can get that easier, but it's like $15,000 a month.
Damn.
Yeah.
A lot
I used to work
of
at
money.
I used to work at CVS for a little bit, and my mom works there and this medical stuff. So like when it comes to the medicine and stuff, I kind of know a little bit. And I know I had patients who would come in for it, and like your insurance does cover it, but people are like spending $15,000 out of pocket for it.
Damn. I wish I had $15,000 out. Speaking of money, gang, if you like this content, if you're enjoying this show, if you're enjoying the call-ins that I do, gang, I could use your support. Subs, gift subs to the channel, super chats, memberships on YouTube work, bits, all these things really help. I can't continue to do this for free. Support monetarily is what helps this channel go, and it's what helps this channel grow. We got some great content coming up for you, right? Even this week, we got some great stuff coming up for you. So, like, you know, help a brother out. Give me your money. That's my pitch. Let's bring on the next caller. Hello. Welcome.
How's it going?
Oh, so far so good. We've had great topics today. We've talked about the Houthis. We've talked about elections. We've talked about weight loss. We've talked about medication. What do you have for us?
All great topics. I have a few. First, let's move on to the one we were discussing, Whick, before you jumped on the show. Can the people, Small Peanut and Whick, can you tell me what manufactured consent means?
Oh, I don't know.
Well,
It's the only smart thing Noam Chomsky ever came up with.
manufactured consent is, as I understand it, and I could be terribly wrong, right? So please don't judge me if I am. But I've always understood it to mean it's not actual consent, but consent at the point of the gun, or consent under duress.
Oh.
It's also a consent from a lie.
True.
So manufactured. So go ahead.
I was gonna say, so like if a cop lies to you or some shit.
Yeah, for example, if the cop says, "Hey, you need to give me your ID," when you don't, and so the state has now lied to you to get you to consent to a thing. Right?
Okay.
So, in a larger scale, for example, like the Iraq War, the media pushed a massive WMD thing, and showed what appeared to be aluminum canisters on television and claimed that was radioactive material with no evidence.
This consent by deception would probably
consent by deception would be a good yeah. So that being said, Whick, I know you have stuff in your DMs. So a week before the Iowa caucus, there was a thing by Axios that was talking about Nikki Haley's grand strategy and Democrats' strategy to say some Iowa Democrats and independents are planning to crash the state's Republican caucuses on Monday night and become Republicans for a day to vote for Nikki Haley, but mostly against former President Trump. So when we're talking about Nikki Haley, No, there wasn't a whole lot of indication of how many of these people actually voted or the totals,
Sure,
because you
it-
can't
some. It was very
prove it.
vague.
Well, you don't know that.
She did
You
a
can't-
scare
you can't-
tactic. It sounds like.
Well, not real scare tactic or otherwise. We don't know the full numbers because
Yeah,
you're
we
not
don't
going to
have
be able
the
to prove it. Yeah, you can't prove it. But you have these people, these Democrats, outright saying this is what they're planning to do, and this is what they're going to do. Then Nikki Haley outperforms the polls in Iowa, right?
Yeah, but not by much, right? Like
Exactly, not by much.
it wasn't a big swing, right? Like
Okay, I understand.
Nikki
Not by much.
She got what we kind of expected. It was within the margin of error. Right?
Sure, but she overperformed in the liberal areas, in
Sure.
the where you would notice young voters would be probably there.
But there was a lot of
Pulled it up. She
confounding.
got.
There's a lot of confounding variables to the caucus as well. One, it's a caucus. Two, they had a snowstorm or something. The temperature was like -25 or some shit. Turnout overall was down by almost half, I believe. I think 187,000 for the last time they did this, and this time it was only a little over 100,000. I could have my numbers a little off, but that's generally the gist of it. So it's really hard to use that variable and say that that's what influenced anything, right?
Like, sure, but it's better. It's better than going off of no evidence and making an assumption, right?
So I googled this because I wasn't sure the exact result. Just wanted to be clear. Looks like she got 19.1%. While seems like a lot, but I mean we all know Trump got to 51%. Ron DeSantis got 21.2%. Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and so when we go to the thing that you were talking about in Politico that linked back to this Des Moines thing, where they're saying, well, hey, she overperformed the polls, and in those polls, 43% of Nikki Haley supporters said they would never back Trump, they would vote for Joe Biden instead. So we have an indication of Iowa Democrats crashing the fucking caucus, and then we have an indication of Iowa voters, Republicans, saying that they would never support Trump. There is no way to pull any information from this because of the fact that we had an instance where they openly planned ahead of time to crash the fucking caucus.
We can make some inferences, right?
Sounds like January 6th.
Yeah. So I don't know how that's relevant, but that's fine. I would just say is that we can't infer things from this information or the Politico article because we already know that this is a thing. And then Nikki Haley today, the last thing we posted in your DMs, Whick, says Nikki Haley is asking Democrats who haven't voted in the Democratic Party primary to come vote in her caucus.
No, I agree that she's trying to get a win over Trump, and she is willing to have people cross party lines in order to do so. However, that said, right, I don't think that this meets the level of manufactured consent, right? Which you came in here, you said that. Because, again, we have no way to know how many people would have not otherwise voted for Trump, or what the margin are. We have no idea what the margins are. We can only guess. We can only suppose.
Well,
now, we do have some data, right? We do have some data, right? And we're going to get more data tonight. Once the polls close, I think they may even be closed at this point. Maybe 8. I don't want to make any claims here because I don't actually know. But once the votes are finally tallied, we'll get a better idea of what exactly happened.
This is what I explained to you, because I explained this. If you're going to make this assumption that she's overperforming in the polls because the Republicans are favoring her over Trump for some reason, then you need to wait until there's a state that has a non-open primary to show that.
When's the next one of those?
I would have to look.
Wait,
but I know
I just checked right now. As of 7/14, Nikki Haley has 54.2%. Donald Trump 45.2%.
How much of the reporting is in though?
It's going up. It's only 2% right now.
We can't make any 2%.
It's going up.
2% is just not going to.
It's nothing.
So again, we'll have to see, right? We'll have to see. I don't know. But I think it would be, it wouldn't be something I would hang my hat on, right? But it would be more data that makes some suggestions. And if that trend continues to play out and it also reaches a primary where they do not allow cross-party voting, then
you have an argument.
Then we have something to say, right? Then we have more. But again, I think and I've said this before, I think I've said this to you before, anyone trying to read the tea leaves now, based on any polling now, is full of, like, don't trust them, right? They're lying to you.
Sorry. I was just, yeah.
Why are you apologizing? You're fine.
Yeah, there's no reason.
I was looking at the thing. I was looking at the thing as a 2%. I was like, oh, I just noticed that part.
Okay.
It's fine. Once it hits about 40%, you can start making app predictions.
No, I have a question. Does winning these caucuses just show the voter turnout for what it might be for the possible election? Or is this just...
This is for
what is the point of this? What is the point of this?
It should have been just a what do you call that thing where it's not actually important, but they do it anyways. I wouldn't say ceremonial, but basically, the only reason this is happening is because Nikki Haley doesn't want to give up. And I would assume, sure, she could do that. I mean, she's probably hedging that Trump may not be on the ballot for the general, leaving her as the only running candidate left.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks that'll happen. And if the Republican donors have their way, like the big guys, like the Koch brothers and everybody else, she should be, because she's pro-establishment. She is a warthog, and she's pro corporation. So that's just how she's been her entire career.
I will say I think Nikki Haley winning the primary is more dangerous for Democrats than Trump winning the primary. I think that Nikki Haley has the ability to pull moderates and independents in a way that Trump just does not.
So my question would be: what is Nikki Haley's political agenda look that is different than Joe Biden's?
I don't know enough about her political agenda, but people don't generally vote on people's political agenda. They vote on their perception.
I mean,
and her perception right now is that she is not Trump. And I think that there's a sizable amount of, and given Biden's low approval rating, like Biden's approval rating, last I saw was at 38%. It's underwater. It's very bad. But the thing that's keeping him in the race is that he is not Trump, right? And I think that's a huge.
I think the thing keeping in the race is he's the president of the United States.
That
not
too.
That he's not Trump. It's literally anybody else could be in the race, but the fact is that he's the president incumbent and doesn't want to not run in the race, which is usually the party has to defer.
I mean, I understand that, but I'm talking about the general election race, not the primary race, right? I'm talking about the general election.
Sure, but Joe Biden also pushed the DNC to shut down actual primary elections.
Yeah, because
in multiple states.
We don't usually have those.
I mean, this is a very special year where people are really afraid.
Yeah, but it would be foolish to have a primary election for the incumbent, just from a strategic standpoint. Just be foolish thing to do. We'd never do that.
I mean, you would do it if you wanted to push them left.
That's why a lot of leftists have been trying and screaming and praying for a primary.
But they will always vote blue no matter who. It'll never end.
No, there are some who just won't vote. But
but those are the hostage takers that you guys talked about earlier.
And that's the thing is, like, the question becomes, and I don't know the answer to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is I think that one of the main reasons Biden won in 2020 is enough moderates and independents.
They didn't want Trump too.
I'm going to break ranks, and I'm not going to vote for Republicans this year. I'm not going to vote for Trump this year. I'm just not going to do it. They may not even have voted for Biden, right?
Do you think that the populations of not wanting to vote for ex-president this year are larger on the Trump side or on the Biden side?
That's the question.
Yeah.
So
the issue is that we have this population of 43%, or a little bit less than half, of Nikki Haley voters that won't vote for Trump, but she only made up like 19%. And you have to compete against the fact that the Democrats need a massive coalition to all show up to be able to be competitive in a race, especially in the swing states. So
which is what's going to matter. It's like going to be
Yeah,
Pennsylvania.
exactly.
It's going to be.
I don't think it's the Trump side that matters
Hmm.
in this race. It is whether or not the Democrats can actually get their coalition together. I swapped out
We did in
coalition with
2020.
I mean, how many times was Israel blowing shit up in 2020? How many times was the Houthis getting bombed in 2020?
Oh, well, we had the Afghanistan pullout just before. Well, no, it actually happened
was after
after.
Trump.
Happened after.
Yep.
But
That was
they
another
were
thing.
talking about it before, right? Like
Yeah.
when
We
Trump
also
was
have
still in office.
we also have Texas and all this other stuff going on.
I think the power move here is
Mhm.
for Biden to sell Texas back to Mexico. I think that's the power
Ooh,
move.
that would be funny to watch.
That'd be the power move, right? What do you
Yeah,
think
that would
about
be the power.
Russia declaring the Alaska sale illegal?
Oh, there's a Venture Brothers meme where it's Brock Sampson who's like covered in blood and has a knife. He's got his fucking
Oh yeah.
and he's like
Take
he's
it.
like, come and take it, I dare you. And the UN officer looks back at the other guy. The other guy's like shaking his head, no, don't do it. Because that's what's going to happen is that that is only red meat for the election for Russia. That's all that is.
And
their elections are coming up.
This is why I'm concerned, and this is a little bit of a not like to go back to the Haley thing, right?
Mhm.
This is why I would be concerned if Haley won the primary in a way that I wouldn't be with Trump, because there are a lot of the leftist coalition that are saying we're not going to vote for Biden. I think a lot of them actually will pull that lever when it comes down to it. But if they have Haley, right, as an option that's not Trump, I think that they actually break ranks.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, the amount of breaking ranks gain that they would get would be dwarfed by the amount of people they would lose when Trump is no longer the leading candidate. So it's a lose-lose situation.
Well, it's the same exists on the left, right? On having someone other than Biden, right? There's a lot of people who, again, just would not vote at all if Biden wasn't on the ticket. I think that Biden.
Let me let you in on my prediction on what could happen. So, all these primaries are going to keep going, and then for a reason unbeknownst to everybody, there's going to be, Biden's going to have a health crisis. And since the primaries have already passed and there's no way to run them, they're going to go. The Democratic Party, the DNC, is going to do their best effort to select one for you.
Question. I want to ask a hypothetical real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's say Trump doesn't win the nomination and we have Haley versus Biden. Who do you think is going to win?
Oh, Biden.
You think
Haley
so?
versus Biden?
100.
No, I think
no, 100%. It's likely to be Biden, because the issue is if what you're going to have is an entire system where the Trump supporters are going to go, I'm not voting Republican. They just cheated my candidate. I'm going to vote third party because Trump is going to run under third party.
That might happen. There's been
and then they're going to split the vote, and then they're going to lose.
92 that there was a spoiler. What's his name? It's escaping me. Not Ron Paul, right? He was a spoiler during the 90s. A lot of people credit him for Clinton's win in 92. Whether that's true or not, but a sizable portion voted for.
You can't get around the fact that Trump will not.
Or Ross Perot. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah,
Ross Perot.
Yeah.
They start with R and they start with P. Yeah. It's the same. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, you're not going to get around the fact that Trump will not accept a loss, and the Republican Party will take every. The Republican Party, I mean, like the people that actually don't fund it, will not give up a chance to put somebody that isn't Trump into the nominee selection.
Well, that's what we fear might happen this time. He doesn't win this time. Biden wins. What are we going to have the same thing we had happen last time?
I remember in 2020. Not 2020. I remember right after the election. Right after the 2020 election, my mom called me and she was crying because she was certain that Biden was going to have an accident and they were going to appoint Kamala Harris, right? That was the big plan. That was the big conspiracy that was going around. She was dead certain that this was going to happen. She was crying about it, right? She was very, very scared. Obviously that wasn't the case, right? So I don't think, and I'm going to tell you the same thing I told to Principles for Politics. I don't think either of them are going to have a health crisis. I think even if they do have something wrong with their health, it's going to be covered up, and they're just going to run them, right?
Well, I mean, Biden has been about 50% of his presidency on vacation, so I can understand. So there's not. He's left almost all of it to his staff, like his heads of his departments, to do what they're supposed to. He doesn't really get involved unless he has a speaking engagement.
Love the Joe Biden, but he fucks that up too.
I mean,
look, but in his mind, he thinks he's saying things correctly.
I know.
Poor guy.
You have a 50-minute speech, and he's coherent through the whole speech. What they do is they'll clip 30 seconds of it or a minute of it, and they'll of where he fumbles the bag. Right?
Yes.
Fumbles up and
I slur my words on
he
stream
tells
all the time, right?
As Biden tells you that your feelings of the economy is not good and that you can't make ends meet and you're living paycheck to paycheck is not real, and you're looking at your credit card stuff getting ran up, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Because that's what most people are seeing.
Consumer reports on the economy are up, right? Like consumer confidence in the economy is
if you look
up.
If you look at credit card debt, it has now hit a new high, and that more people have more credit
Inflation,
card debt than savings.
Yeah.
So just because consumer spending is the same or higher doesn't mean that they're affording it. It means that they're running up their credit card debt, and it will eventually collapse. And this is what is called a credit bubble.
So according to my chat, and keep this in mind, it is my chat, so don't trust them. There are a lot of news segments calling it for Trump, and that it's probably going to be a blowout. I'm talking about the primary tonight. So
yeah,
if that's the case, I don't know if Nikki Haley stays in. I think if it's a blowout, right, like if Trump just runs away with it and he gets like 70, 80, I don't see Haley staying in. So
you think she'll go along with the rest of them and endorse Trump, like Vivek and
almost certainly.
So I'll send you this. I can't send it in the pit, but I'll send it to you, Whick. But credit card debt has hit.
I know it's at an all-time high. Inflation's as high as hell. Rent is going up, and the thing that sucks is that wages are staying the same.
Yep. So when you have remember the biggest thing that the left used to claim back in like 2016, which is that most people live paycheck to paycheck and can't afford a $500 emergency.
Sure.
I remember that talking point. Yes.
Do you think that has been resolved or gotten worse?
It's gotten worse.
I don't think so. I don't think it's
really bad
worse.
now.
So after 3 years of plus 8% inflation and no growth in wages.
What are you talking about? No growth in wages. Wages, at least for the non-managerial cohort, right? So the working class, right? It's outpacing and has since December, right? We've been
December, which is how long ago?
Yeah, but that's where the trend is going.
The issue here is
they're going up, but inflation is going up too. You have things costing more. Rent is more.
To be fair to Whick, it is going up by 0.5% since December. The issue is you have 22% overall inflation compared to your wage increase. So you had people having 20% less spending money comparatively than they had before. But you're telling them things are fine now, which doesn't ring.
No one's saying things are fine. We're saying things are getting better, which measurably, by every metric we have, at least for wages, is. And the trend line going up, if it continues to go up, and as we get closer to the election, that is going to be a feather in Joe Biden's cap, because people do not have very long memories. That's for better or worse.
I can guarantee you that their credit card payments every month are going to renew their memory and tell them that they don't have as much money as they did 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, well,
because they blew through their savings during the pandemic when they didn't have a job.
I do agree with Whick that wages have increased, but it seems like everything's so much more expensive now, so it doesn't feel like it's equaling out. I don't want to say equaling out, but comparable or easier. I don't know.
If you ask most people, right, and there's been a couple studies on this, right, a couple recent polls on this. If you ask most people, is the economy doing well? Most people, up until last month, again, this has been a recent change, would say no. But then you ask, are you doing well? They say yes. Right? 64% of them say yes.
That's interesting.
Right? So most people think that everyone else is suffering, but they themselves are lucky and okay. Right? That's most. Again, I'm being general here.
Yep.
And again, I think it's a losing thing to say everything's good now, you don't have to worry. But what you can say, and I think what a winning strategy is to say that under Biden, things are getting better. They were bad, but they are getting better and improving, and we can show you. And I think that's just a winning.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
If an administration has to revise its job growths down every other quarter from when it was its claimed expectations or claimed job growth, is that a sign of a stable or running economy?
It's not a sign either way. It's a sign that someone has higher expectations than they should. Now, whether that does not make a strong or a weak economy. That's just an expectation.
Let me.
I think when you use that as a metric to say that the economy is weak, it doesn't hold water for me.
So.
And what are we classifying as weak? What part of it is weak? Are we talking about the way things cost, or how much money people are making, et cetera, et cetera?
So the Biden administration has a habit of stating numbers of job growth. I'll just link this US Today article to you, Whick. That way people don't accuse me of not having data.
They will accuse you anyway.
Yeah. But consistently every month, the United States government has to revise down the numbers they had last year or the year before, the same month, by about 300,000 jobs grown.
Yeah, the rate of growth is slowing down based on the recovery from the COVID shit, right? That happened, right?
So when somebody says
there isn't
that
as big of an increase, but it's still an increase.
No. So say I grew 500,000 jobs this month.
Yes.
Okay, and then a year, my administration has to come out and erase 300,000 jobs from that claim. That month of that year that I had grown,
that was a loss.
500,000.
But you didn't lose any jobs. You grew. Still, you grew.
200,000.
Right? Grow as much as the immediate bounce back from the COVID issue.
No. But the claim is you grew this many jobs. You're lying to people when you're telling them that you grew that many jobs, because you have to revise it down a year later. Saying that, oh no, that didn't actually happen. It was only 200,000.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So it's not revising it from this month.
It's misreporting. It sounds like
year. It's that it was misreported.
Fair. Well, misreported or lie or
lie,
manipulation.
Or if you can,
yeah.
I'd have
statistics are a hell of a thing. But I'm saying this because this has happened continuously over this administration, where they've constantly revised down the amount of jobs that they've actually grown.
They say that every administration, every president's like, I created this many jobs in my presidency, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, true. But the thing is that if we're talking about the adults coming back into power and that truth over lies, and if you're the party that has claimed that you don't lie to people, but you're
lying to
doing
people.
You're not selling something.
No, I'm all for honesty in politicians, and I wish that we had honest politicians. We don't. But then we have to. What was it Joe Biden said? Don't compare me to the almighty. Compare me to the alternative. And I think that it's a very easy comparison when we talk about who is more honest, Biden or Trump.
Or Donald Trump. That's
easy.
So here's the issue, right? Nobody gives a shit about Trump's honesty. They care about whether or not he's going to stop funding things.
I don't agree with you. I think one of the reasons he lost in 2020 is because he was seen by enough moderates who did care about honesty, who did care about civility politics, whatever you want to call it, that they were just disgusted by him. And
what is the three main things that people are talking about now for this election, and what is important to them?
The three main things, I would imagine it would be economy, it would be immigration, and the third thing is probably
is it the Israel-Palestine?
Well, no, foreign policy in general, or it would.
So I'll tell you what the numbers are: 37% economy. Underneath that, about 34% is immigration, and by distant third, 11% is abortion. So but the issue is that when you're trying to make a claim that this year is going to be the same as 2020. It's not going to be the same because people looked at what 2020 was and go, well, I understand that happened,
let's look at those
but I need money in my wallet. Sure. And
let's
that's
look
why
at
you
those
see
three
the polling.
issues. I think the only one that Biden might struggle on is immigration. I think he nails the economy compared to Trump, and I think he nails abortion compared to Trump.
I don't like
100%.
I don't like
the abortion thing's been delegated to the states, so it's not really a president thing that much anymore.
Yeah. That ship has sailed. It gave Democrats 2022, but that's it. But the issue
Immigration
is
thing I agree with Whick on, because I know immigration, foreign policy, whatever, but I don't, it's kind of surprised me it's not put on there, but I thought Israel-Palestine would be a big thing, because people are really talking about that right now. And I mean, when it was going on, I heard a lot of people talk about this is going to be something that's brought up during the election cycle. You're really going to want to vote with somebody who's on your side.
Let me ask you this, Artemis. Is the Cato Institute, would you consider that a right-leaning or left-leaning centrist institute? What do you think?
I think it's a fucking paid-for institute like all the other ones are.
Sure, but like, who pays for them? Like, it's generally, I think what most people would consider it more right-leaning organization.
Yeah, I think it's Coke, isn't it? Or is it the what the fuck is that one? Something Bellingcat or something? I'd have to look at it.
They recently held a one of those hearings, right? And it's an interesting hearing. You can go look at on Congress, maybe the Senate, on immigration policy and stuff like that. And to defend Biden's policies, a member of the Cato Institute came on, very right-leaning institute, to defend Biden's stances on immigration. Because when you look at it, right, Biden has been tough on immigration. Sure, he's not for the razor wire, and he's having a to do with Texas, right? And gang, have you heard about this? Like Texas, the SCOTUS.
It's a great example of state versus federal authorities.
Yeah,
and what powers each of them has to.
I'm not aware of this.
We can get into that, Whick, or you want to finish your thought first before we do that?
If I could, right? Yeah. But anyway, like, I think that Biden's gonna hold his own. I don't think he'll lose as much as you think when it comes to immigration, because again, he can point to his policies that do appeal to the more moderate right wing, because they are kind of strong. They do turn off. I know a lot of leftists complain about his immigration policies. In fact,
So, do you know what Bernie Sanders said famously about open borders?
Bernie Sanders? I have no idea.
Yeah. Bernie Sanders says that open borders and mass immigration is a Koch brothers conspiracy to enlist a shit ton of slave labor equivalent.
Okay, well, that's crazy.
And when I see that the Cato Institute is the one saying that he's doing great on some of these things, I can understand why. But the big thing is that nobody cares about Cato Institute. Nobody cares about the establishment anymore because nobody trusts it. This is the era of post-truth or whatever the fuck it's called, where people are only hedging their bets on whether or not one man could go in and fuck up everything. And they don't really care how it's done. They're just angry at the government because their lives have been fucked with. And I think that's why what people are forgetting with Trump is that nobody cares if he's smart. Nobody cares if he is a genius or is good on a certain thing or another when it comes to political, like foreign policy shit. They want him to fuck up the federal government.
No, I agree with that, but the question becomes, right, because there is another segment of voter, right, and he's turned out in higher numbers in 2020, and we will see what they do in 2024, that are just they don't care what Trump's policies are, or how good the economy. They don't care about that. What they care about is what they see on the news and how they feel about the honesty and the prestige of Trump, right? Like, they see Trump as a bad person, orange man bad, and we meme about that, but that's how they really feel, right? And they were like, I don't care, I just don't want this guy in office.
Yeah, I would say that your coalition issue is going to be the one of the leading factors of whether or not that matters.
No, well, I agree with that. So, like, our coalition issue is going to matter here this election.
My big thing is that if you guys can't get the coalition together, the people that don't like Trump is not going to matter because they're not large enough relevance in the Republican Party to matter.
Tesco Johnson for $2. Vote for RFK Jr. He is America's only hope. Never.
So
I can't imagine a situation where I vote for RFK Jr.
Actually, RFK has been pulling away support from Biden because they've been fucking with RFK. It's going to be a Bernie Sanders thing again.
Is he though? Not in near numbers to Sanders would. 2024 A Gay Odyssey. Thanks for the name.
Yeah.
Says $2. FU Test J. MAGA 2024 equals free January 6th Patriots. Thank you. I
think it's a little optimistic to think that that Trump will just pardon all of them.
Yeah, he's not going to. He'll get him.
The issue is I don't know if he even knows all of them. Like I think the issue is that it's a nice thought. He might do it if somebody brings it up to him. But just like the Kanye, was it who's Kanye's wife? Was
The
Kanye's
Kim
wife.
K thing?
Yeah, Kim Kardashian bringing up that one woman who was a drug seller thing and got her out is because she brought it directly to him and he pardoned her. I just don't have too much high hopes for that because Trump is focused on 3 things, and one is destroying the FBI. So he has a lot of things on his. He has a lot of priorities. I don't know if J6 is 100% going to be one of those.
Well, we'll see, right? All of
Texas.
this is prognosticating at this point. We're guessing, we're reading the tea leaves, but it's fun to do, and I enjoy it. Anything else before we let you go?
Texas,
yes.
Please enlighten me.
So do you want to explain it, Whick? Do you understand it?
Very, very TLDR. There was a Supreme Court case recently of whether or not Biden could dictate or at least influence how the border is controlled on the Texas side. So Texas was saying, hey, we have the right to put up these barriers with razor wire, etc. And Biden was like, no, you don't. Take them down. It became a federal versus state back and forth. Who has the authority here? It went to the Supreme Court. Recently, the Supreme Court put down at least a temporary thing saying, while they're still deliberating, Biden can still remove the razor wire and things like that. And Texas, Greg Abbott, I believe is his name. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Has basically said, no, screw you. We're not going to listen to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. So a little bit, yes, a little bit of clarification. The Supreme Court thing was strictly just the removing the injunction, while the court case to see whether or not the authority even lies with the president in this matter is still in the Court of Appeals in the Fifth Circuit. So the decision was just to decide whether or not the injunction should stand during the court hearing. That being removed by the injunction, or the injunction being dissolved, doesn't negate Greg Abbott's authority as governor to, under times of emergency, to dictate things like making areas non-trespassable to people, even if they are federal authorities, because he has activated the National Guard, meaning that he's already activated his emergency powers. So just because the courts have decided one thing doesn't mean that they have any ability to stop him from doing it with his normal governor abilities. So that's why he's telling him to fuck off. I don't know why Biden even pushed this, because it just makes it look like he's like ineffectual.
Small battle or whatever.
Yeah, it's a publicity self-own. Maybe they were looking at. Yeah. That it's just
still in thing like there's been the shots have been fired metaphorically, and this is Greg Abbott's response to the injunction. We'll see how Biden responds to Greg Abbott's response. So it's not a cell phone yet. We're still in process, right?
Yeah.
If Biden is able to just basically force Greg Abbott's hand, then Greg Abbott loses a lot of face in this, right?
Sure.
But we'll see how this goes. I don't know enough about the legalities involved here, right? Yeah. And it is an issue that is currently going through the Supreme Court itself, and so it's anyone's game.
Yeah.
A little reporting from my chat, and again, it's my chat. 72% of the New Hampshire primary results are write-ins on the Democratic side. So that shows you who's voting in this primary. So.
Well, it's because New Hampshire's not does not have Biden on the ballot.
Yep.
Because he didn't seal.
But as the comment notarize it, all of it, right? Like the whole primary, right? Like all of it.
He's not. Yeah. Because he's not on the ballot, so he has to be.
No. What I'm saying is, like, even though the competitive primary is between Nikki Haley and Donald Trump, there's still 72% of total votes are write-ins.
Yeah.
Democrats.
Yeah. No, I'm agreeing with you.
Okay,
that makes sense to me because.
Is this? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Is this primary going to determine who's the nominee?
No.
In New Hampshire,
in part.
No, it's not. It's not going to do that because the Democratic Party has a thing that allows it to pick nominees with its superdelegates, so it doesn't matter.
What do you mean? Are you saying the DNC can choose who the RNC's?
No. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was like, what?
You're asking if the RNC's
yeah.
thing is possibly. The reason being is because Nikki Haley needs legitimacy for anybody to accept her as the nominee if Trump goes out. Because the next best one would have been Ron DeSantis or Vivek as having the support. Because
Why
the only reason
Vivek though? Like Vivek's never topped Haley.
Well, true, but what is Vivek?
I mean, he's a MAGA guy, right?
Yeah. So he's MAGA, but talks better, right? So if he doesn't have anything else to offer except that he's better at talking, but does everything Trump does, everybody's just gonna vote for Trump.
But just for Trump, yeah.
And so if Trump is out, well, what best thing than Vivek, who says he's gonna do everything for Trump? So all of that support shifts over to Vivek.
That's a leap. I don't know if that would actually happen. I think it's Trump. Like I don't think you could be Trump light. I think it's Trump or nothing for these people.
No, he said he wanted to also dissolve the FBI and the ATF. Like, there's no light here. It is probably he'll probably be
a lot
more
of
effective
Trump's appeal, as you said, isn't policy. It's
correct.
I want to burn down the system.
Personality.
Yeah, but he's saying the same things, burning down the state
in a real way, right? Yeah. And I don't think Vivek, like, he can say he could have the exact same lines, the exact same policies, the exact same platform. I just don't.
He doesn't have the Trump flair.
I think you're looking at this from the left side, and I don't think you're looking at it from a Trump supporter side or a right-wing Republican side. And I think that's why you're not seeing the allure. Vivek is the only one that has immediately come out in support of him. He's never trash talked him. So he's automatically going to be one up, like, favorable compared to Nikki Haley. But because Nikki Haley just looks and sounds like a younger version of Hillary Clinton, with all of the worst policies also wrapped up in there.
Hillary Clinton. They're completely different.
As someone who voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, you take that back. She is not. Nikki Haley is I know Hillary Clinton, sir, and Nikki Haley is no Hillary Clinton.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. Nikki Haley has never, toppled a government or.
Oh my lord!
I mean, what happened in Libya?
What happened in Libya?
we funded like terrorist organizations to go kill fucking Gaddafi.
We've done that for the longest time.
No one got my reference. Did no one get my reference?
No, I don't think anybody did. You're too old.
I'm 23, so if it was an oldie reference, I would have.
Hopefully, you got my reference, Artemis. But
so you have to say it again. What was it?
It's a famous line from the debate between not Al Gore. It was Mondale's running mate and Bush Senior's running mate. Where I know Kennedy. I am Kennedy's personal friend, and you, sir, I know John Kennedy, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. You're too old for me, man.
What year is this? 1995?
Actually, it might be.
No, it was like the 80s. It was 88.
Wow,
maybe 92. Yeah,
hold on.
I think it was the 88 election. I believe.
We need a debate on whether or not you could be as old as you are and run a show.
True. Look, I'm 40 years old. That's in Twitch years. Oh. I'm ancient. I'm almost dead. Right. But yeah, it was Lloyd Benson and Dan Quayle. Thank you. I appreciate it. Dan Quayle was the joke for a while. Dan Quayle jokes were in vogue for quite a while in the Democratic Party, right? Like his potato gaff that he did. I don't remember. He was doing a segment with a bunch of teachers, and they asked him to spell potato, and he got it wrong. It was funny.
But I would say that Nikki Haley is one of the one things that's going to turn off voters because she wants to engage in more conflicts. We're in an era where people don't want to fucking engage in more wars.
Yeah.
So she's immediately going to turn off almost everybody on all sides.
Like it or not, we're going to be engaged with wars. Lex Friedman for the $50. Checking in to give props for continued great work on hosting interesting debates. Keep it up, Whick. Lex, I saw part of your Ben Shapiro and Destiny debate. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but I did see parts of it. I liked what I saw. I'm eager to dig into it further. But yeah, thanks for coming in and saying hi. And thanks for hosting that debate. It's a lot of red meat. Maybe me and Artemis can go over it together sometime. Or Lex, if you want to come on and go over it with us, we'd love it. But yeah, anyway, Nice to see you, Lex. Thanks for the money.
I think I've run my course. I think you're wanting to wrap up, so
Yeah,
I'll
we are.
let you do that.
Yeah, but Artemis,
Nice
thank you for
speaking to you.
calling in. I really appreciate you. And we will see, right? It looks like it looks like Trump's going to take it tonight.
Yeah, it's getting higher and higher.
Yeah, I think Trump's going to win the primary tonight. The question becomes, by how much will Nikki Haley stay in the race? I don't know. Again, I think if it's a blowout, I don't think she stays in.
I don't see it, yeah.
Yeah, so if Trump breaks the 60% mark, I think Nikki Haley is going to drop out. However, if Nikki Haley can keep it close, if she can keep it within 10 points, I think she stays in. But again, we'll have to see. Coming up this week, we got some great shows for you. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking to a bunch of people about canvassing, and we're going to be talking and promoting the canvassing house in Ohio. What's that going to be about? What's that going to be like? We're gonna talk about it tomorrow. Thursday and Friday both, we have Houthi debates. On Thursday, I will be hosting the debate between non-smoker Rashad Crenshaw and Kevin Logan. On Friday, I will be entering the arena. Speaking of Destiny, me and Destiny both will be teaming up to debate some tankies on
whose channel?
Houthi. It will be on someone else's channel. I don't know. But I will be streaming it here, so please watch it here.
I'll watch it.
So yeah, I don't care about these other people. Watch it on my show. No, but it should be fun. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern on Friday. I'm actually going to be debating in a moderated format. That will be fun, and it will be great. So tune in, gang. I'm excited for it. Are you excited for it? I hope you are. What else we got? Anything from you, Small Bean? Anything you want to say at the end?
About the Houthis, I kind of learned about them recently. Don't know too much about them. I didn't know who they were until recently. When I watched your stream about their slogan, and I heard about their slogan, everything that really turned me off when I heard about that. And I kind of found out they're like blocking they're shooting people in the Suez Canal. The Israeli supply ships, is that right?
Well, it's pretty much anything they can get their hands on.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've actually killed anyone, but they have shot missiles at ships. They've tried to interdict ships. They're basically acting as pirates. Yes.
And I've heard a lot of stuff like Hassan had somebody on his stream that was a Houthi or a part of on one of the ships or something like that.
Well, I did a whole segment on that. It's he was a they billed him as a pirate. Whether he's a pirate or not is up in the air. But he was definitely a propagandist for the Houthis.
Yeah.
So
the way I see it, not great people. Don't support that stuff. So I'll be interested to see your debate so I can learn more about the situation.
Sure. I'm glad you guys will tune in. So tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. For now, who's streaming on Twitch side that we can raid into?
Let's see.
Who is streaming? Let us go to... Oops. Oh no. My thingy's going crazy here. My bad.
Apparently, Red talks about stuff. Red, one of your community members,
talks about stuff. Oh, one of my community members. We can raid into my community member. Based. Let's do that. Red talks about stuff. Okay, we're raiding out. Thanks again. Love you all. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for the gift subs. Thank you for the bits. Thank you for tuning in. Even just watching this does my heart good. See you guys later.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you for having me, Whick. I hope you have a good rest of your night.
Oh, you too. Let me turn off the stream.